Hello, my name is Gael Aitor. I was born in Mexico, raised in California, and live in New York. No one taught me how to say my name in English, but I've slowly been figuring it out. My name is Gael Aitor. Gael Aitor. Gael, 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 Aitor, 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 Gael Aitor. Gael Aitor. Gael Aitor. Gael Aitor. It's December 13th, 2025. I'm 22 years old. My birthday's on June 9, 2003. I have been living in New York for the last 3 months. And I am happy. The other day, I met a friend who I found to be particularly uncaring about how she presented herself to others, and chose to speak and act in the way that felt most natural to her. This is something that I've always struggled with because I think when I am at my most relaxed, I tend to have a very monotone voice and a very slow, quiet way of speaking. That has always made me believe that it gave off the impression that I seemed uninterested or distant, unengaged, even though that is not the case. And so I have always felt a pressure to speak in such a way that will showcase the inner enthusiasm that my most relaxed self doesn't always project through my voice. And ironically enough, when I'm in front of the camera, it feels like I speak in this monotone voice. But when I'm around friends, I don't. And this has always made me think, which is the version that is me? And surprisingly, I think the version of me that is most accurate to who I feel like I am is the person that I become when I am in front of a camera. And it's not to say that other person can't also be me, because I think it definitely is. But if I had it my way, I would choose to speak like this all the time. And the friend that I met spoke in her own way, also very quiet, gently, slow, and thoughtfully. And she asked me a question of my life that I thought was very interesting, which was, can you explain to me who you are without telling me where you work or where you come from and how you ended up here? And so I proceeded to tell her and answer that question. And I thought it was refreshing, thoughtful, and it gave me a chance to think about who I am outside of the identity that I have crafted for myself. And I've been thinking about identity a lot. This video is my identity it is a stamp of it at this particular time. And I struggled starting to speak because I was unsure of how to describe who I was in a way that felt encompassing of the depth of my own perception of myself. And I realize that it is difficult to get someone to understand you in your entirety, and perhaps it is something only we will ever truly know about ourselves, if that. And I suppose I was scared to even try, at the risk of being misunderstood. It seems better to simply stay quiet in that sense. So when I think about starting this video and this documentation, I struggled with choosing what labels to put on myself. Many of them didn't feel all-encompassing. Many of them felt inaccurate. Many of them I was uncomfortable, feeling like I hadn't quite earned it. And so I decided to take it in a different direction and simply mention where I came from. But if you asked me to tell you the label that I have recently chosen for myself, then it would come out like this. My name is Gael Aitor. I'm a Mexican-born designer, raised in LA, living in New York City. My work focuses on connection, on how we can provide greater emotional intelligence to young people across the country. I design the worlds and ecosystems that pull young people out of negative cycles and states such as isolation, loneliness, and confusion, and craft the environment required to help them live a more connected and meaningful life. My most recent iteration of this work has had a specific focus on play. And in short, I believe the meaning of life is play. And that play leads to openness, which leads to connection, which leads to community, which leads to confidence, which leads to having the courage to live a life your own. And if we can simply make it easier for young people to play and embrace the art of play while having a playful attitude, it will make dealing with life's challenges much lighter. My work has taken me far. My previous project, Teenager Therapy, was a coming-of-age story told in real time. It was a documentation of mistakes and growth, but most importantly, it was a reminder to young people that they are not alone. It followed me and 4 of my friends as we documented every week of our life from 15 years old until the last episode aired when we turned 20. If you could imagine being a fly on the wall, on the bedroom of a group of 5 sophomores in high school who didn't have access to therapy, counselors, or their parents' guidance, and they decided that the best way to deal with life's issues was by talking with one another. I recorded these conversations week after week, and I published them as a podcast. Episodes were from 20 minutes to 2 hours long, from casual talk about exams and Christmas to genuine reflections on our sexuality, our mental health, and our relationships with one another. At times the podcast was uncomfortable and almost too raw, invasive even. We used it as an outlet to solve conflicts that we did not have the courage to do without the presence of a camera. For me, that always felt like it gave it purpose. It gave me an extra set of motivation to talk about things. Because it is much easier to fix your life when you feel like your own life will help others than simply help yourself. And this trait is still very much present in me, that my work helps me deal with my own issues, because I believe that extra motivation of knowing my challenges can help someone else, it gives meaning to the suffering. This podcast became a huge hit, but I was not ever surprised at that. I had an undoubtable, unshakable confidence that that project was going to be extremely successful. And because of it, it was. It became the largest mental health show in the world. It reached over 1 million followers. It became a lifeline for young people across the world when the pandemic hit. And it catapulted me into places that I could have never imagined I'd be. It showed me both the realities of business, of this country, and what it means to take up space when you've never been in a space such as that before. We were featured in publications like the New York Times. We had guests asked to be on our show, such as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I met some of the most powerful people on the planet, such as Hillary Clinton, and found myself eating dinner with some of the most talented people in the world who decided that my work around youth mental health support was necessary. But I also quickly learned that many of these rooms were not there to seriously support me, but to further their own agenda. Nevertheless, I refused to make myself smaller, and in fact, I only made myself bigger. And in many of these rooms, I made it a point to always stand out, always speak, and to never be silenced. I operate with such a delusion and a sense of confidence that feels unreasonable given my experience, but it is the only way that I have learned how to survive and how to thrive. Through that podcast, Teenager Therapy, I learned what purpose means. I realized that feeling like I was helping people and having a genuine impact on the world and on the people that I cared about was more meaningful than the pursuit of monetary gain. And I was no stranger to monetary gain because I started my first company when I was 13. To help my mother financially, I realized the easiest way to do that was to go on the internet and make some internet money. So I started a clothing brand that would help small indie artists expand their work and their practice by printing their art on clothing and helping them reach more people that they couldn't have done on their own. We split a revenue of the profits with them, and this business turned out to be quite successful, reaching 6 figures in revenue by the time I was 14. That was the money that helped me start teenager therapy and helped me fund it, but more importantly, helped me move my parents, my mother and sister, into a new apartment. It helped us buy our furniture, and it helped me buy my school supplies and clothes from that point forward. The Christmas tree from there on was typically filled with presents, the majority of which were bought by me. At 15, starting teenager therapy, the podcast, was when I hit my stride and realized I wanted to do something that was impact driven and aligned with my own values and the pursuit to help others in the struggles that I felt all too familiar with, those being mental health issues. When I turned 20 and I ended the podcast, the success of that show had put my name front and center in many areas. I was invited to speak at places such as the White House, Department of Education, NYU, Aspen Ideas, Cannes Lions, Time 100, and many more. I was sought after to give classes on podcasting, reaching young people, and how you build an audience with minimal budget. I spoke in many conferences where I was often the youngest one there, and I could feel the admiration from researchers and experts much older than me that were far more skilled in many areas, but the one thing they had yet to figure out was how to impact and reach the people that needed it most, and understanding young people in the way that I did. From that point on, I began to feel lost. I knew I wanted to build something bigger, but I didn't know what that was or how to get there. Well, in a way, I had a fuzzy vision. I knew that I knew a few things. I knew mental health was important. I knew young people were lonely. I knew there was a lack of third spaces. And I knew that young people were going to want to turn from the online to the offline. To once again live for the physical world and not just the digital, and connect in person as opposed to purely online. However, there weren't many spaces to do so. And so seeing this lack of physical space where young people could simply exist, I knew that it was my duty to create that. Unfortunately, that is obviously not the most sustainable business model, because it is a notoriously hard thing to try to combine accessibility with sustainability. And so I spent about a year feeling very lost, knowing I had a fuzzy idea of where I wanted to go, but being unable to crystallize it into something that felt concrete and viable. I was very lost during this time. I remember feeling a sense of doom, a sense of meaninglessness, and confusion about where to go next. Throughout it all, I had chosen not to attend college so I can keep focusing on my own work and not lose that momentum that I had fought so hard to build. And so I saw my friends go away to college, and I very quickly realized that building community is not easy when you are young, and that when it is not given to you through a traditional institution, that the risk of isolation and loneliness increases significantly, and it feels terrible. I experienced such great feelings of loneliness, and for such a large portion of 19, 20, and 21, I felt deeply lonely. Unable to find my people, my community. But little by little, I learned many things. I learned how to do things alone, how to go out alone, dance alone, be alone, and not be scared to step into any room without the presence of a friendly face. I learned the importance of an invitation and to never take an invitation for granted, and did my best to attend everything that I was invited to, and at the very least acknowledge it. Because when it is no longer convenient for people, you'll find that invitations are hard to find. I learned that I would have loved to go to college, and that I deeply craved an environment where I could feel supported by a community of people and mentors that believed in me and showed it through more than just words. I've always loved school. I've loved learning. I'm a very curious person, and I obsess over understanding how everything works and how we can do things differently. And although I would have loved to school, I did not get the opportunity to do so. And that has been one thing that has pained me deep in my heart. A lot of people say you can go to school at any age, and I agree, but I think it's silly to respond with that when I tell them that I would have loved to go, because it refuses to acknowledge the privilege that 4 years spent in a bubble, and that is one that I cannot afford. For a minute, I started another project called Astro Studios, later Astro Lessons, which was initially a podcast network. My logic was relatively simple. If teenage therapy was such a hit, how do we expand it and help young people deal with life's universal issues by hearing the perspectives of others, always available whenever you need them? That is what makes Reddit so successful. So why can't it be through podcasts as well? For a minute, I thought maybe we could raise venture capital, and that maybe this idea was enough to do so. Now it seems silly, and I very much was out of my league. But being exposed to the world of VC and what it means, both for founders and the ideas and how they take shape when someone seeks that type of capital, helped refine my own ideation process as I continue my work. But little by little, through trial and error, through many pushbacks and pushdowns, I found my way again. But it was not without struggle, because there was definitely a year or so where I felt so deeply lost and without a single clue on how to get to where I wanted to be. I was pulled in many directions. I was pulled in the direction of crypto. I was pulled in the direction of media. I was pulled in the direction of software. And none of them felt right. It wasn't until I met my mentor, Dr. Alice Wilder, who helped me understand the through line in all of my work, and that I was passionate about mental health, but not in the sense of wanting to help therapists reach more clients or spread their knowledge. I was not in the business of helping industries, business to business. What I was truly passionate about was helping young people and helping them live more connected and meaningful lives. And so my work took on a different light, under a new perspective. I knew what I wanted to do, and now I just had to figure out the way to do it. And I got very lucky in many ways. Talked to the right people, met the right people, pushed the right amount of times, denied the wrong opportunities. And through a series of unexpected, completely unplanned interactions, I eventually found myself back in business again with my friend and my partner, Kayla. Together we started Grown Kid, which began as a humble podcast to help 20-somethings live a more meaningful career in life. But this year, we have found a new stride, and this fuzzy idea that I've had in my head to help young people live a more connected and meaningful life has taken on form through our social club, which uses community and play to take isolated young people and pull them into our ecosystem to help them live and leave it feeling more connected and in community. And we do so through play and play-based events. And this idea that play is transformative, that community is ritual, and that caring is rebellion. Pillars of the brand that I live by, that I learned because of the struggles that I went through, feeling so deeply isolated and realizing that if there was ever going to be a community in the way that I knew was needed, then I was going to be the one to make it. And so far my life and my work has been shaped by my ability to understand what I lack and what I seek, and then proceeding to build it myself. I'm very excited about Grown Kid. I think it has the greatest potential out of all my projects so far. I think it has the greatest ability to create meaningful impact while being sustainable and accessible. And this brand has brought so much meaning into my life. I feel fulfilled in so many ways. I believe that I am helping people. I believe that I can do it. I believe that I can take this to success. I believe that I can keep expanding. I believe that it can be challenging. I believe that it can be fun. I believe that it will live on without me. And I believe that it is needed. And this is the right time to do it. I truly do think it is the right time and place. And if I keep fanning these small little sparks, the flame is going to expand. And I'm happier than ever. I'm happier than ever. Yeah. I'm really happy. I'm really happy. I don't know why I just snapped into a completely different context of myself. I got bored of talking about that. Don't get me wrong, I was really into it, and then I kind of got bored of it. I just don't think work is all there is about to me. It certainly is a huge part of it, and I think a good life should have work at the center of it. I think a good life means meaningful work, and that's what keeps you fulfilled, and that's certainly important. But I want to talk about something else. Who am I? Gael Aitor is curious. I am not good at math. I lose focus easily. I am forgetful. And all of those things suck. I don't know why I'm starting with the negatives, but all those things suck, just to get the bad stuff out the way. I can be very forgetful. I'm unfocused. I bounce around too much. And I can be at times rude because I talk before I think. And things come off in the wrong way that I don't mean to. And I always feel so silly because I hate being misunderstood. This is something that I've realized about myself, is that I hate being misunderstood. I don't like when people... I dislike that I will never be able to truly explain myself to everyone, and that I will have to live with the sense that there is a vague misunderstanding between what I was trying to say and what the other person understood. And this is just a fact of life, and it is, you will never be completely understood in the way that you seek, and you are forced to live in this vagueness, and this uncertainty. And that makes me sad, that makes me mad, it frustrates me. I want to be understood. I think my work is very straight to the point, because when I design, I think there is something so beautiful and intriguing about designing to convey the information as clearly and as simply as possible. To clearly state your intentions and what you intend this flyer to be about, because there is no room for ambiguity. You cannot hide under the subtext, the subtle messaging, the metaphors. It is not up to interpretation. I am telling you how you should feel and what this is. And there's something very naughty about that. To leave no room for questioning. I suppose I like the control of it. And I do like control. And I think I have to like control to succeed. I will do things my way. I will live life my way. And I don't care about much else besides ensuring that I have as much control of my life as possible. And because of it, I will plan 5-10 years ahead, 10 steps ahead, to reduce the unknown and increase my control of situations before they have happened. This is of course not realistic to do, but it gives me a great sense of comfort, and so far it has worked in my favor many times. So some people call it manifestation, some people call it planning, some people call it a scarcity mindset. I think it's smart. I am learning when not to do this, though. It is important to feel. People worry sometimes. I suppose people worry about me sometimes. But I'm fine. I'm fine. I think I'll be fine. I believe that I am fine. I understand why people worry, but I think no matter what happens, I will find my way out and I will be fine. And don't get me wrong, I like that people worry. But I truly just feel like I am fine. I will be okay. Maybe that's hyper-independence. I'm sure it is, actually. I'm sure it is. That's probably, it's good. It's good that people worry about you, obviously, but can't I just be, like, good? I don't know. I don't know what's there. There is something there. I don't know if it's necessarily the act of someone worrying as much as it is. I'm not sure. I want to be free. I want my freedom. I'm trying to figure out how I want to live my life. What do I expect of it? What do I expect of my lover, my friends, my family, myself, my community, my team? What do I want? I will say that I have a very easy time when I have control over a situation. And usually, when I know what I want, I go after it, I either get it, or there's a point where I can no longer get it. And when I can no longer get it, then that is out of my control, assuming I have done everything in my control to get said thing. But once I am out of options, and it's out of my control, then I let go. And that's that. And I'm quite good at that. Do when you can, do not worry when you can't. Smooth sailing. The issue is knowing what I want. I have not figured out how one goes about knowing what you want. Because I want many things, and we all do. And I want everything. And it is a reasonable thing, in my eyes, to want everything. So, it is ridiculous that we have to narrow it down to a couple of things. How do I figure this out? I don't know. How to know what I want? I want freedom. I want control. I want meaning, happiness, joy, money, family, friends, community, support, mentorship, resources, food, clothes, music, fun. I want that. That's not surprising. It's having to pick. How do you pick between two things you want? What if I want both? Can I have both? Why can't I have both? Why can't I have more than one thing that I want? Can I convince people to give me two things? Sometimes I just want to live my life with everything. I want everything, and I want to be around people who want to give me everything, and I will give them everything in return, and we can give each other everything and not worry much. But people want different things, and people want certain things, and people refuse to give up certain things. And I just don't think anything is that serious. And few things are serious. And I think life is fun, and life should be playful, and I deal things with humor. And I think many things just don't matter, and a lot of things don't matter. And that's why I'm able to let go, because it just no longer matters. It doesn't matter. If I choose for it to not matter, then it doesn't. And so I have to be very careful about what I think does matter in this moment and when to say it no longer matters. I don't believe in guilt either. I don't think guilt matters. I think guilt is a bad emotion to indulge in. I don't believe in the pursuit of pleasure always. I love sitting in the tension between reaching pleasure and being without it, and sitting in uncomfortableness. There's a middle ground there that I really enjoy. It's prolonged pleasure. Prolonged pleasure attracts me. I love the suffering that comes from it. I love the suffering that comes right before you reach pleasure. And pleasure can be release. The suffering right before release, the tension of just push a little harder before you explode in satisfaction. And the longer you hold that tension of uncomfortableness, the bigger and better that explosion will be. I refuse to give up for this reason, and for many others. I don't like giving up. I hate failing. I love failing. I hate failing. I hate failing. I think failure intrigues me, and I try to pursue it, but I don't like it. But I'm okay with it. In fact, I'm very used to failure. That just comes with playfulness. If I play around a lot, I play around with ideas, I play around with concepts. Many of them fail. If you consider it not being pushed forward failing, then sure, that's failure. But I think I've always found myself frustrated by the way that people refuse to sit in uncomfortableness, in the possibility of failure, in the possibility of the unknown. For example, when you write an idea, when you're working on an idea, you're just playing around. Mix things that have a high chance of failure. Sure. This could fail. That's fine. Do not be scared of it. Take it to the end. I just want to see what happens if I do this. That's what I'm getting at. I simply want to see what happens if I do this. I know it's going to fail. I know it's likely a failure, but I am okay sitting with the possibility of failure because my curiosity is more important than experiencing failure. And the reward of this is that many times you will get nowhere. But when you do get somewhere, it is the most satisfying release you could experience. And I think many people can do themselves a service by not being so scared of failing. Do not be scared of a bad idea. Do not be scared of a dumb idea. Do not be scared of a stupid solution. You can't be. You have to admit that it is dumb, but you proceed to do it anyways. That is what makes life fun. That is what makes life playful. A life of play means knowing something is a dumb idea, but proceeding to do it anyway for the sake of play. I love tennis. I love boxing. I love high intensity sports. I don't like slow things. I don't like team things. I think tennis and boxing are such an individual sport, and that excites me. I enjoy relying on myself. I want it all of myself. I love the intensity that it relies on is based on how much effort I would like to put in. That is something that I have recently figured out, but it makes a lot of sense for me and my personality. So it is not a shocker, not at all. I love food. I love food. I love eating. I love cooking. I love reading. I'm curious. I love the color blue. The color blue has taken over my life in many ways. I love techno. I love house. I love dancing. I love dancing in ways that feel weird and almost unacceptable. In ways of dancing that just help me release of being so lost and being in my own world. I like going out mostly alone, and if I do go out with friends, I like when we're both in our own world. I don't enjoy bars for that reason as much because I think I'm more of an introvert, and there's a lot of times where I simply want to be surrounded by people, not necessarily engaging with them, and dance is a great way to do that, whereas bars forces you to engage with people, which I think is lovely, but I don't always want to do that. And I think I would much rather do it through my work. And when I do it in my personal life, then it is in my own doing, and that is more of a rarity. Not to say that I don't enjoy it, because of course I love meeting people, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I just have to be in a very specific mood for it, and my social battery is not very high, so I try to be careful with it. These are things that I find important for you to know about me. I'm a very emotional person, and I see that in my music. I focus on the melody more than the lyrics. I focus on things that have a deep sense of emotion in them. I don't necessarily, I enjoy the calm. I enjoy songs that feel calming and nostalgic with a sense of yearning attached to them. I have to be. Hello. I'm back. New York now, which I'm very happy about. I've not always, for the last couple of years, my goal had been to be in New York. I desperately wanted to be here, so desperately, especially when I was lonely. I felt like my life always felt so full whenever I did spend time in the city. My first time coming here was when I was 18. It was on a brand work trip. They paid for our flights. Came here with my 2 co-hosts and friends. Paid for my flights, paid for our food. We had so much food budget, we were eating 2 dinners in one evening. It was the most ideal way to experience New York for the first time without a care about budget. It's a great city to not have a budget in. And I loved it. And then for the next 2 years, I spent 2 months here every summer, living in various parts, a month at a time, alongside a couple friends, sharing a bed. Lived in Chinatown and Bed-Stuy and Prospect Heights and Flatbush, and I loved it all. And every time that I was here, life felt so full, to the point that when I returned back to Anaheim, it felt like a dopamine detox, and I crashed because I was experiencing so much pleasure and so much happiness here that as soon as I got back to where I'm from, there was nothing to do, and I just felt lost and bored and understimulated. This is a great city to be alone in, a great city to be lonely in, because there's so many opportunities to pull yourself out of it, completely by accident at times. So I love it here. This city matches how I think a city should run. I love the energy, I love being surrounded by people, but not having to participate. I love the art here, I love the creativity, I love walking down a road drunk with someone you love, with your friends, stumbling all night long. I adore this city. I am so happy here. It feels so right. I have my closest friends here. I met my best friend here, inviting her to a party, my birthday party when I turned 20, in which I made a website and sent it to strangers and hoped that people would show up, and she did. And as chance would have it, we became best friends. And so I've always crafted a life, and the life that I want, and this city just makes it 1,000 times easier to do that. This city is also where I experienced loss for the first time. A few years ago, at a Halloween party, during a very lonely time in my life, I met a friend. Well, really, I saw someone across the room. I thought they were very pretty, and I decided to go talk to them. And this became my friend Horace, who I always found to be such a silly man. Very unserious. Very opposite of me. But I always felt very warm and safe around him. Felt very normal being with him. He became one of my closer friends. I would see him frequently. And I would say he was really a friend that felt like he was a core part of my life. He moved to New York a year before I did. And we would talk about what it would be like when I would move here. And we could hang out once again. But a couple of years later, after meeting him, I guess 3 months ago, at a Halloween party, he died. Horace died. And basically every friend in this city that I have, and even a few friends from the West Coast, were there that night. So my entire world was affected by it, and it was hard to escape. Lucky in many ways to have that support. So many ironies in it. When I first met him, I was dressed as a man with many kisses on my body. He was dressed as a Parisian. And when he died, it was also at a Halloween party. But he was the one dressed as a French kiss. He was very playful. I think he pretended for a year in high school that he put on a British accent, and so for a full year everyone thought he was British. Why would he do that? That is so funny. I think he also told all his college friends that he was 20. He was 22. He really made life his own. Lived with such a playful attitude that I'm still inspired by. I think that's why we became close friends. Because he annoyed me at times. Felt too playful. It's like, can you be serious for once, please? But I think there was a reason I kept him around. Because you need people like that. They really make life a little brighter. That was my first time experiencing grief. And I had always been scared. I had always been scared of how I would react to it. remember always, oddly specific thing, but I would always have this fear of having to call the parents of my friends, if any of my friends were to get hurt or pass away in a freak accident. And the first thought was always, how am I supposed to ever tell anyone and make that call? But after Horace passed away, I was the one making calls to all his friends and his family members. And it just happened so easily, so quickly. When the time came, my body just reacted. And suddenly something that in my mind felt so undoable became like second nature. I learned a lot from that. I learned to trust myself more, to realize that I'm capable of so much more, and that fear has never been something to stop me from doing something that I know is right. I'm very hard on myself, and I think a lot about my fears and how I would react and what fear would stop in me. But I'm learning that the things that I think are often lies, and I am much more capable than I think. Whoa. Whoa. Shit. Okay, people. Not to be such a downer or anything, damn. Yeah, that was crazy, but yeah, shit was wild. Can't even lie to you. Your friend passing away while I'm hanging out with my friend Molly. You feel? So having to kind of deal with both of those energies of like, oh shit, I'm kind of glad I'm hanging out with my friend Molly right now because she's such a positive, happy force on me that I am just kind of going through the motions right now, but I still feel really happy. Like my body's being flooded with happiness when such a terrible thing is kind of happening. That was insane. Insane night. Insane. Like what? How did that happen? I cannot believe it. I was like an overload of emotion. Holy shit. Oh my god. Bro, that was crazy. First Halloween in New York was memorable, alright. I'll tell you that much right now. Let me be clear. It was quite a memorable night. I mean, here I am. Grief is interesting. It's an interesting journey. I don't think it's easy, of course, but it's doable. It's survivable, at the very least. So that's nice. That's a good positive thing that has come out of this. I think everything has meaning. Some people think that is cope. I do think it's cope. Not everything needs to have meaning. Some things can just suck. That is something someone recently taught me. I don't know if I necessarily like that way of thinking. I think that's shitty. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm one to sit with my emotions and my feelings, But it makes it much easier when you tell yourself it had meaning, or, give suffering meaning. It makes it much easier to deal with. Why wouldn't I? So if I can say, like, hey, well, at least this happened for this reason, at least he's good, that helps me. Some people just like, no, this is just sad. Say it for what it is. Sure. That's fine too. That's fine too. I just have a wild imagination. I'm a sappy, emotional person. You cannot expect me to go by the book. I will make up stories. That is what I do. Well, I'm going back to California in a couple hours. Taking a flight. Am I gonna have to pay for that damn fucking lift? Maybe. Unless the train is running. I hope the train is running. Wouldn't that be nice? Save $70. That'd be great. I'm trying not to go broke. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to make a living. It is difficult, but what can I do? Shit's hard. Shit is hard. I can't lie to you. But here I am though. Here I am. I'm doing great. I'm happy for what it's worth. I'm very happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm so excited about work. I think 2026 is going to be a huge year for me. I think this is where it all happens. I think this is make or break. This is the year to really prove myself. And I think I will. I think I will. I have no doubt about it. And I can't wait for it to happen. And for us to be successful, and for us to help the people we need to help, and for us to have impact, and for us to build this beautiful thing, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. I truly do believe it's inevitable. My success is inevitable. And you can push me down many times, and everything can go to shit. I will win no matter what. I really do believe that. I always win in the end. Here's my room. This is a corner of it. I think it represents me well. This is my room. It's cute. A lot of blue. Maybe not in frame, but everywhere else is blue. My closet, there's a lot of blue in. I have my big speakers, which I love. I love listening to music, as you know. Well, yeah. I've ate a lot of donuts today. My body image, oh, that's a whole nother issue. Who am I with my body image? I don't think there's anything special about my body. And I hate that I go to the gym as much as I do, and I'm so serious about my nutrition, yet I look like I've only been lifting for like 2 months. While some people do it for 1 and they look incredible. So it's just, at times it's just genetics, and I just have to be like, oh, well, fuck. I'm working so hard, and this is a part of my life that I have yet to conquer, is achieving the body that I want. But I am getting closer. I can't even lie. I've made progress. It's been painfully slow, but progress is there. I refuse to give up, and there's times where I want to be, you know what, fuck it, like, I don't give a fuck about this body. It's fine. I'm not going to reach the standards that I want, but I refuse to do so. Like, I need to see it through, and I will do what it takes to get what I want. And my body's being very stubborn about that. But I will get there, and I'm just like, ooh, some of you have it so easy. But that's okay. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It takes forever, though. It's really a bitch. It takes a long time, you know? And holy shit, I just had some deja vu. I swear to God, I was in this room already. What the fuck? That was... Wow. Yeah, serious deja vu. Snow. It snowed for the first time, like two days ago. It was beautiful, incredible. magical right before Christmas. I feel protected. Did you know that? That's one thing about me, is I feel protected. I think I genuinely have gotten away with so many things that I should have not gotten away with. And I have survived things by the tiniest hair of luck. I am protected. I believe that I am protected and that I have a lot of divine fucking energy around me. And this protection comes from the women in my life that keep me in their mind. I have strong women that protect me. That is what I think. So, yeah, I feel very protected. I feel like the universe loves me. I feel like the universe is watching out for me, and it wants me to do something. And it's cheering me on, and I see it. I see it. I'm confused by many things. I'm confused by all the friends in the world, all the lovers in the world, all the things to do. I want everything. I do not want to be constricted. I want freedom. I want to live my life as I please. I want things my way. I just want to be able to say what I want. That is something that I'm learning. Let me tell you exactly what I want. Stop with the indecision. Let me give it to you straight. No fluff. My name is Gael Aitor. I'm a Mexican-born designer, raised in LA, based in New York City. My work focuses on connection and how we help young people live a more meaningful and connected life. It's a pleasure to meet you.